Hi, I'm Andrea. I have been waiting for Jesus for a very long time. When I was younger, my dad was an eschatologist, and the first time that I remember really understanding that something could happen in my lifetime was, I'd have to say the movie A Thief in the Night. Thief in the Night, is that it? Yeah. It is a movie about the rapture. I was young when I first saw it in the basement of the First Reformed Church in Three Oaks, Michigan. It was my first understanding of what was going to happen. At that point, I hadn't read Revelation or had any kind of understanding about what was coming. But yeah, that was my first understanding. Fast forward, I got married in 2005 and we moved out to Iowa because my husband was going to school out there. And lo and behold, at the church that we went to I believe he was the producer of The Thief in the Night. And that was neat because it was just a connection I never expected, and I don't really believe in coincidences. I think that God, ties all those things together. Okay, so that's the very beginning. When I was about 14 years old, my dad took us to, actually, pause that, when I was 12. I was in the car with my dad, and I remember him saying, so when I was 12, it'd been like 1996. And I remember being in the car with my dad and him saying something to the effect of, like when Jesus comes back, America's not going to be here the way that we think that of America. And I remember thinking at the time, like, that is crazy. America's always been here. Of course, America's going to be here. You're so wrong, Dad. And, I only had to wait 5 more years and the whole world would change forever. 9/11 happened and nothing's been the same. So that was one thing that stands out. When I was 14, my dad would go to the Prophecy Club in South Bend, Indiana, because we're from here, and they always had interesting speakers. And I remember him taking us to go and see this man talk about his dreams from the 80s. And so many different things sounded neat, but I remember thinking, like, I can't even imagine that happening in my lifetime. I don't understand how could they be watching the president talk in their hands? And how could, I remember being so hung up on the TVs and just the way he described things. Well, so keep that in mind. That was when I was 14. Then, I've always had an interest. I've always been wanted to study it. And I remember being scared to study it when I was younger because everyone always told me how difficult and challenging Revelations was. And there's no way that, I would be able to figure it out. So trying to think of what would make the most sense to talk about next was, so I had children, moved home back to Indiana from Iowa, and started doing studies on Revelation. I think it was in 2012 for the first time. That was the first time that I studied it, was with a group of women. And it was great, and didn't understand half of it, but tried. And it was in 2012 that I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt this, like God was telling me I was going to win the lottery. Like, woke me up out of my sleep to tell me that. And I remember thinking, what do I do with that? How, you're going to win the lottery? What does that mean? And I just remember spending the next few hours in my bathroom, like just praying and seeking God and asking him just to show me more, just for understanding. And the things that I was just feeling in my spirit just all felt random. But there are rhema words. There's the Bible, where you can just read the Bible, and then there's rhema words, where the words leap off the page as if they are meant for you. And I was having that happen. There were words that were leaping off the page meant for me, and the things that showed up was talking about Jesus' return after, the sun would go dark, the moon would go blood red, and I remember those words just standing out. I had never, ever, ever heard of a blood moon before. I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen one. I'm sure I saw one, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize it had any prophetic significance. But so I was asking God, I'm like, okay, all right, okay. So we're going from the lottery to you're coming back after the blood moon. What does that mean? What does that mean? What do you want me to do with that information? Do you want me to tell people? What do you want me to do with that? And that's what I was praying for. It was like, what do I do with this information? And I just felt like God told me billboard. Okay, billboard. So I wrote that down, and I'm like, I have no idea what billboard means. What do you mean billboard? Do you want me to fund a billboard? Do you want me to design a billboard? Do you want me to put that Jesus is coming back with the blood moons on a billboard? What do you want me to do with this? I don't know what you want me to do with this billboard thing. And it was good. It was really, really good, sweet time with God. And I felt like I didn't understand any of it, but it felt like he was there and he was talking to me, and it was something to hold on to. So about a year later, we moved to a different location, and I had a brand new notebook, and I was really just itching to write in it something, because I'm weird. And it was Tuesday maybe, but it wasn't during Bible studies season, so there wasn't I couldn't wait for Bible study to do it. It wasn't a Sunday, so I was far enough away that it was going to drive me crazy to wait until church to write in it. And I just remember wanting to write in this notebook. I go online on Facebook thinking maybe I'll listen to a lecture or something and I'll write in my notebook. Well, a friend of mine posted something about the blood moons, and I was just like, the blood moons? Huh. Someone else has ever heard of it. This is the next time I'd ever heard of the blood moons. This is now 2013, I think it is. It should be 2013. And she wrote about the blood moons on Facebook and linked to a website. So, no, that's not true. It linked to an article. So I went to the article, and in the article, it mentioned the website. So I go from the article to the website, and then I'm meandering around on the website. It was John Hagee's, and all of a sudden, out pops, I'm trying to think of the order of how this all went down, but out pops this, a message all about the blood moons. And so I was like, this is the thing I'm going to write in my notebook. So I get my notebook out, and I'm following along, and I'm taking notes, and I'm listening to him talk about the blood moons and the history of the blood moons, and listening to him talk about what's coming and why we should be paying attention to this. And then all of a sudden he says, these blood moons are like God's billboard in the sky, telling the world Jesus is coming back. This is God's billboard in the sky. This is how he's communicating with us. And I about fell out of my chair. I wrote in big letters all across my notebook, billboard, with exclamation marks, and underlined it all. I could not believe he said that. And I was just like, okay, all right, God, okay, I'm listening. Okay. So that happens. And the blood moons come and go, and I'm watching and I'm praying and I'm believing and not understanding really what any of this means. We moved again. And by this time I had 3 kids. The whole lottery thing, I think, might have had to do with my son. I don't know. Because when I was in that quiet time in the bathroom, one of the things I asked God was, I'm like, well, how long is this going to take? How long until this happens? Because I don't want to lose faith if it takes, between the time that God told Abraham he was going to have a son and when it actually happened was years. So I'm like, Lord, I just don't want to lose faith if it doesn't happen next week. And I felt in my spirit like he was like, it's going to be about 4 years. It's going to be about 4 years. Well, about 4 years later was when my son was born. So I still don't have any idea. Obviously, I feel like I won the lottery with all my kids, but I have a lot of questions when I get back to heaven. Just say, so what? Explain that to me again. Anyway, okay. So 2017, we're back home in Indiana, and it was May, and I just felt like we were supposed to go to the planetarium. So I'm like, well, that'll be fun. Let's go to the planetarium. I go to the planetarium, take the kids. And my science teacher is now running the planetarium from 8th grade. So that all feels nostalgic, and it just feels like I'm in the right place. We all take our seats, and she's talking about the summer sky. We're getting ready for summer to come, and she's talking about Jupiter going back and forth and going back and forth. And she's like, what a real treat we have, because we get to see Jupiter in Virgo for 9 months. Oh shoot, I ruined it. So before that happened, I'm not re-recording this. Okay, so before that happened, I was sitting in the seats, and she pulls up Leo the Lion and Virgo the Virgin. And I just felt in my heart God say, watch what I'm going to do with this one. Watch what's going to happen. And I'm like, what? What's going to happen? I remember just being like, well, tell me. Kind of like a Buddy the Elf kind of moment of like, tell me, God, what's going to happen? And that was when she was telling us about Jupiter is going to be in the belly of Virgo the Virgin for 9 months. And I totally didn't understand why that was significant. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Good job, God. The little kids got restless, so I let my oldest child stay for the rest of the show. And I said, okay, when you are all done, come outside. I'm going to put the little kids in the van. I take the little kids outside. And it wasn't, like, I literally got them in their seats, buckled them in, and then as I'm getting into the front seat, I get a text message from my aunt with a video on YouTube. And she's like, you've got to watch this. This is really, really cool. And I was like, okay. So I'm watching it. And it was a Scotty Clark video. And I'd never heard of him before. I'd never seen any of his videos before. Became a huge fan of his after that. But it was about the September 23rd sign, and talking about how Jupiter is in the belly of the Virgin for 9 months, and how significant that is, and this birth that's going to happen. And I'm just floored at this point, where I'm like, God, you're so cool. You are so cool. You're so cool. Thank you for telling me that before, like, somebody else did. Thank you. So then I'm on this journey where, like, I'm watching the September 23rd sign in the sky, and I had this moment at one point where I was just like, this is it. This is it. Like, it made a lot of sense to me that I really thought we could know that he was coming back. in September when this sign was happening, because it lined up so perfectly with scripture. And when you go into Stellarium, you know, Scotty would show you how like he'd go forward 7,000 years and backwards 7,000 years, and it was the only time where it lined up perfectly with scripture. And I just thought that was just the coolest thing. And I'm like, okay, God, like we're all in, we're ready, we're waiting. And I'm trying to think, Lord, is there anything else that you wanted me to share? It's just been things like that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I remember waking up in 2017, 2018, something like that, from a nap on the couch, to just God's voice in my heart saying, it's not going to be long now. It's not going to be long now. And I just saw a YouTube video the other day where the woman was saying like, it's not going to be long now. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm ready whenever you are. I've been waiting my whole life for this. I've been waiting a long time, and actively waiting since 2014. Like, it's kind of been on the horizon since 2012. It's been 10 years. And God is so good. He's so good. And as crazy as it all sounds sometimes, and as much as, you know, like when I try to share with family and friends and just strangers, anybody who will listen, you know, it can be discouraging as time goes on and nothing's happened. But with everything inside of me, I believe he's coming back. And with everything inside of me, I believe it's real. And I think I think why I have so much faith in it is because he's talked to me and told me things before anybody else did. So to hear in my spirit about the blood moons, and to hear him talk to me about it being a billboard in the sky, and then to go from that and hear him talk about, you know, just kind of telling me, watch what I'm going to do with this, with the Jupiter being in the belly of Virgo the Virgin, and the September 23rd sign that was coming. I mean, those are things like I would never know without him telling me. And so it just builds my faith, and I get excited. I have no idea when he's coming back. I tell my friends and family all the time, like, if you think I have any idea that, like, if you think I'm claiming that he's coming back at any certain, like, does it sound like I know the day or the hour? I have absolutely no idea. I thought it was going to happen 6 years ago. Yeah. 4 years ago, 6 years ago. But God's sovereign, and I believe he's going to do the right thing for every person in every situation. And I believe with everything inside of me that he is so patient, and he is waiting until the last moment so every person who could get on the ark. So if you're watching this today, be encouraged. And if you are watching and you do not know Jesus, you are not promised tomorrow. You're not promised a minute from now. And I would just encourage you to just believe. And it's as simple as just telling God, Lord, I believe I'm a sinner, and I believe that you died and you rose again, and you did it for me, and I accept your gift. Help me to walk away from the things that, you know, I'm just imagining right now, just, you know, we always feel like we're chained up, that we're chained by sin, and really God is saying, those chains are an illusion. You're in those chains because, like, you're keeping them on yourself. It's already been done. God's already done the work. The chains are unlocked. Take them off. Take them off. And I encourage you to take them off. And if you're listening to this and you've gotten this far and you don't really know where to go next, I just encourage you. Would you just find a quiet spot and talk to God? Even if it's just like, I feel stupid saying this out loud. I feel stupid. I don't even know if there is a God. God, if you're out there, would you make yourself real to me? Would you show me? Like, I mean, it can be as real and honest as that. And I believe with all of my heart that God will meet you where you're at, that he will come and show himself to you. Just open your heart. So, all right. I am so ready for him to come, and I am so ready to be at the, like, I want to be at the fun table with Dr. Ah and all those people, like, at the very bottom. I don't think, I would totally believe that God would, like, pull them to, like, other parts of the table, but I just know that their humble hearts would be like everybody else, have the places of honor, and we'll all sit at the end at the fun table. So thanks for listening.